Hey everyone, welcome to Season 3, Episode 6 of the Senstennial podcast. And tonight, it's a good old vent sesh with myself, Other Matt, and Bennett here. We're going to have a grand old time. We're going to kick it off with talking about games versus the Dallas Stars and the Chicago Blackhawks. We're going to talk about DJ Smith's lineup decisions, and we're going to let Other Matt have a little vent sesh and rant here. And then we're going to talk about the Sens costume party. We're going to have a nice little, happy, good vibes talk to finish off the evening. So let's kick it off with the game versus the Dallas Stars. Sens are on the road. So, DJ Smith hasn't exactly had a glowing away record with the team. He always needs to get those home matchups to really make the lineup play to its fullest. But Gustafson comes in. The Sens get a 4-1 win. It's all good vibes. I'll kick it off to you, Bennett. What'd you think about the game versus the Dallas Stars?
Yeah, this was a really solid game all around for the Sens. Possibly the most complete game they'd played all season in this very small sample size. Josh Norris scored a brace, as we would say in the soccer world. And, Connor Brown and Brady Tkachuk both chipped in with goals as well, which is great to see both those guys open their accounts on the season. It was another good game for Batherson with 2 assists. Tim Stützle continues to look fantastic with the puck on his stick, even though he can't buy a goal for love or money right now. But that'll change. And we had solid goaltending. I think it was Gus in that night, eh?
Yep, it was. Yep.
Yeah. He made 38 saves on 39 shots.
Yeah,
Yes,
he probably should not be asked to make 38 saves every night. But yeah, I mean, he had a 974 save percentage in that game, which is awesome. But again, you'd hope to be allowing fewer shots than that. But if it's going to happen, you want your goalie to stand on his head, and he did. So fair play.
Well, I'm not sure I would say that it was the most complete game, only because of how many shots they allowed and compared to how many actual shots they took. I don't think they had more than 25 shots, to be honest, but they did really capitalize on their chances, and that's really what's most important. Obviously, you love to see the Frank the Tank celebration by Brady. Norris showing that he hasn't forgotten how to score, and Batherson and Stützle looked phenomenal. I don't know about you guys, but Batherson is turning into quite the player, and very well could be way better than what his contract annual value looks like.
I was going to say, can we talk about the fact that he signed this contract this summer and the Sens now have him locked up till he's 29 years old, and he's already basically, I think after the game versus Chicago Blackhawks, he didn't register a point, I don't think. So he is one short of point per game, but he's being paid just under $5 million, and you have essentially a point per game player who's 23 on your roster.
Well, he's still a point per game. He has 8 points in 7 games played, 4 goals, 4 assists.
All right. Well, that's just dandy.
And that's in spite of, getting nil and a -2 last night.
Yeah. And so I think that game, the defense played relatively well. I didn't think there were any glaring issues, which is generally a good thing. But I mean, Philip Gustafson showcased once again that he is a top tier goaltending prospect for the Ottawa Senators, and frankly should be on this roster. And if he wins tonight against the Minnesota Wild, Dorion might have some tough conversations with a guy they just signed to a 1-year, one-way contract in Anton Forsberg.
Yeah, and I mean, Anton Forsberg, when we started the season out, after he played against the Toronto Maple Leafs, he had that stellar start to the season. And, in even in the next game against Toronto, he had under a 900 save percentage, but he came up huge on some really quality chances. So I think Anton Forsberg definitely had some good moments, but, it might be his time to be cut out.
I feel bad. It's too bad just because I think Forsberg is the definition of a goalie journeyman. I do want to see him, find a stable home. It didn't really make sense right from the hop. When they signed him to that deal last year, mostly because Gustafsson came in and played better than him, and why why give him the contract?
I think they just wanted him as insurance, right? Like what we saw with Murray being sick to start the season, then being injured by Kreider. It's just a reliable guy to have. Like you don't want to have, Mads Sogard having to come up and play in relief when he's not ready for the NHL yet. So I think he's really just an insurance guy. Like look at the Habs, for example. They had to pick up Sam Montembeault on waivers, and he's not, really putting up quality numbers. He's never been above 900 in the AHL, as far as I remember. So anyway, I think it was just an insurance policy.
That's fair. It's just too bad that their second best or first best goalie is going to be in the AHL for majority of the season.
They can carry 3 goalies.
Yeah, but what's the point of not playing 2 of them? Like I can understand Forsberg sitting and toiling. That's fine if Murray's starting, but I mean, I want Gustafsson to play games, and frankly, if he's the better goalie than the 2 others, he should be the one. And I mean, also in the words of DJ Smith, you ride the hot hand, you play the guy that's playing the best. Blah 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 blah. But how many times have we actually seen that happen this year? So. Only time will tell.
Honestly, though, I do think that they put Murray in against Chicago because Chicago...
It's the easier competition.
Yeah, easier competition. But also, I think with Patrick Kane coming back, I don't know. If I'm a coach and I'm playing Gustafsson and people are going to say, well, you have to put up your prospect goalies against the toughest competition. And I totally get that. But, if DJ sees the opportunity first, play Matt Murray versus Marc-Andre Fleury, they used to be teammates. It's a cool rivalry. Maybe Murray asked for it. I don't know. But you're playing Gus against the better opponent of the two. If I'm a fan, like I am a fan, but if I'm looking at the situation from outside the perspective of a Sens fan, I'm like, okay, well, Gustafsson's playing really well. Yeah, if I'm the coach, I do want him to play against the Minnesota Wild because they're the better team of the two. And if it gives you the better opportunity to win, then yeah, play him against the Wild. So to me, it's kind of weird that people are like, oh, Matt Murray this, Matt Murray that. Like, this is why they're playing Matt Murray against Chicago and Gustafsson against the Wild.
I don't think Gustafsson would have won that game yesterday if they played exactly how they played in front of Murray. Because, I mean, they were crap. That was the least inspired I've seen them play all season. Their top 2 lines were not performing. Their defense was just not hitting it. And unfortunately, that left them with a 5-1 loss to the. I don't even fuck them. I hate that team. I can't stand them. I put up, a decent bet that the Sens were just going to annihilate them, and it didn't happen. But shit happens.
Yeah.
If I can't any stand
team
them.
You were rooting for the Sens to just dominate this year. It was Chicago.
Yeah, it was definitely.
Unfortunately, we were on the other end of it. It was a pretty miserable game, honestly. I mean, I watched 2.5 periods, and then just packed it up. I was like, I got other stuff I could do tonight.
Yeah.
It was it's like if we were losing and it was a close game, or even if we were losing and we were kind of playing well in spite of it, that's one thing. But I mean, there's 82 games a year, and every team has a half a dozen where they're mentally not there. They don't show up. It's a natural thing. I don't think it's a problem, because this team, if there's one thing we can say about this team, it's we typically don't need to worry about the compete level. But it's a long season, and shit happens.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was going to add something to that, but now my brain is not letting me remember. Oh, I do remember. Perfect. So I think the first 18 minutes of the game, it was Ottawa's game.
Absolutely.
I think you watch those first 18 minutes and you're just like, yeah, there's no way Ottawa's going to like lose this period or this game. They're just on another level. Then the top line gets hemmed into their own zone, can't clear the puck, allows Chicago to get one. And I think from there on out, Chicago's like, yo, we're woken up. Like, let's get this. Like, we need our first win of the season. And I really think that Ottawa just lost tempo of the game, lost control of it, didn't control the pace anymore. And like, whether people want to, crap on Murray or not, for me, that first goal is on the rest of the team, not the goaltender. They just let him get shelled from every angle until finally it got put away. Like, do you want that third goal back? 100%. But coming from a perspective of a goalie, and I'm sure Other Matt can speak to this as well, if you're being screened by two players in front of you, it is so hard to see the puck, the ball, depending on what sport you play. It is very difficult. You're talking about tracking a puck that's like a few inches wide, like an inch
Oh my
tall.
God, he had the prop ready.
I have the puck in my hand right now. This is an official licensed product of the NHL right here.
Yeah. I mean, that the thing is screened plays in hockey are so difficult to try and track. So you kind of go off a wing and a prayer sort of deal. And I don't fault last game on Matt Murray. Sure, like you could have made an argument that he should have made some of the saves, but at the same time, like Sens scored one goal. Their defense was crap. Their forwards were crap. And there wasn't much redeemable about it. So the hive mind is that they don't like the Murray contract, so they're going to get behind crapping on the guy. And like, I understand that. I mean, you want a player who's paid a lot of money to perform, and he just hasn't really over the course of his contract. And it's too bad because I think he has all the tools to do so. I just think, he's got to bounce back because Gustafsson is like creeping up on just taking that number one job. And like, if he wins tonight, oh man.
And I know I've like defended Murray in the past, even during this podcast episode. I want Gustafsson to take the reins. Don't get me wrong. My ideal situation for Gustafsson coming into this season was to get the occasional start, even if Forsberg and Murray were the regular 1 and 2. Gustafsson gets some starts in here and there, and then next year Gustafsson takes on the full backup role. I think next year the argument could be made that Gustafsson, depending on how the rest of this season goes, is the starter and Murray's the number 2. Now, I don't know what that means, when it comes time to pay Gustafsson his next contract. How long did the Sens sign him for this contract that they had to sign this summer? Because he was an RFA. I know, unprepared podcast host, just the worst. But here, I'll pull him up on Cap Friendly. I thought it was 2 years.
Yeah, it's a 2-year deal.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, perfect. Dude, his cap hit's only $787K.
No, he's paid pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, but anyway, what I was going to say is the year where he's due for a raise, I believe Murray has 1 year left on his contract at like $6.5 million or whatever it is. I'm not sure what the Senators are going to do at that point, because let's just say Gustafsson needs like a contract and is going to ask for $6 million hypothetically. You can't be paying $12 million on 2 goalies. Like I know some teams do it, even some teams pay $10 million for their top goalies if you look at Bobrovsky and Price, but you can't be spending $12 million on your just 2 goaltenders. It's just no. So I'm not sure what the Sens do then, but I know that Gustafsson is really showing that he's on his way to be the number 1 for this franchise, and that's huge.
Yeah, and one final thing on the Murray contract is, I mean, you'll recall last year, I think it was when Anthony Duclair decided to walk, and through the grapevine, and we can't confirm this one way or the other, but reportedly, Duclair had wanted a contract, similar to White's, because he was saying, well, I scored X number of goals more than White, and he's making that, so I should be making that too. And you don't want to have a situation where Gustafsson is in those negotiations and he says, listen, I'm the real starter on this team. I need to be making at least as much as Murray is, who's my backup, basically. So I think by the time that they want to sign Gustafsson to that big boy contract, if he's still trending upwards, if he's cemented himself as like a number one goalie, which is a big if, obviously. But if that situation comes to pass, they're probably going to want that Murray contract gone before they get to that table.
Yeah. Now, I will say that, I mean, your point, regardless, is good. But I do think that Anthony Duclair came out himself, was just like, yeah, I was not offered near that much money. But I think your point is still a very good one. I just want to let the people know that we have heard Duclair's side as well, and that we really don't know what the ask was on either side. But
yeah, well, he was like asking for something closer to White's salary. So I don't know what he was offered.
No, that was what was rumored. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll turn to DJ Smith's lineup decisions. Now, Holden's come out for the game against the Wild due to a potential injury there. Michael Del Zotto comes in. Now, the weird one for me is Gambrell comes out for Watson. To me, I thought Gambrell in his first game, but I thought against Chicago he was fine. Like, he didn't really make any glaring mistakes, in my opinion. Just played a fine game. But Watson comes in and Shaw moves to center. So I think that one to me is the weirdest, because I would have liked to see Sanford, Gambrell, Watson. I don't know what you guys think, but I just thought that was a little bit curious. So, Other Matt, we'll start with you.
I mean, honestly, I'm pretty disappointed with these two line changes. Gambrell comes in, looks like an effective fourth line center. I will say Logan Shaw has looked a lot better, but he's playing on the wing. We know what he can do at center, and it's not particularly good. So why move him back to center and have Watson come in when you already have an effective looking center in Gambrell? And then you put Watson in and looks decent enough. With that said, I think the biggest issue here is Nick Holden coming out. I have been, checking Twitter, and Ian Mendez is sort of under the impression that it could be, and he did use the word could be, a injury reasoning. And if that's the case, it makes sense to take Holden out on a back-to-back. With that said, though, if he's not, Jesus Murphy, holy hell on high. What are Zaitsev and Brown going to have to do to get out of this lineup? Because from I
know what they have to do to get out of the lineup.
Tell me.
Run over one of DJ's pets with their car or something. I think that's what it's going to take.
You have to run over DJ's ego.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, it's brutal having to consistently watch Brown and Zaitsev. I will say Brown has really improved the last two games, but that's not saying much. It was like going from Daga Doo-Doo to just Kaka, whereas, oh man, I'm gonna get ripped on Reddit and stuff for that one. But
No, it's okay.
And Zaitsev's just been terrible. Like, I don't know if there's much of anything redeeming about his game. But they're two of Smith's guys. They're not coming out. And at what point do you need to have Pierre Dorion step in and say, okay, I'm done with seeing these two guys in the lineup. Let's get some fresh bodies in there. If it's either Lassie Thompson or Eric Branstrom, I think Lassie Thompson just has the edge there just because he's a right-handed defender. But I'm not sure if anybody can tell me that Brown and Zaitsev would look better than Lassie Thompson if they're paired with Nick Holden. Nick Holden has the ability to uplift players that just aren't playing to their potential. We saw that with Eric Branstrom in the preseason. I remember after that Montreal game saying, like, well, this is the opening night D. They are fantastic. This is the way it should be. And two of the guys that were in that lineup aren't. So it's really, really frustrating having to have this conversation over and over and over. But ultimately, it's DJ Smith's coaching decision. And until Pierre Dorion wants to actually see wins, it's going to stay the same.
And I agree with almost everything you said. I mean, Zaitsev is clearly a liability. Despite looking pretty okay for most of last year, at the start of this season, he is just getting cratered on basically every shift. But the one thing is, I don't necessarily 100% agree that he's one of DJ's guys. I think the fact that he's on a $4.5 million contract with 3 years left probably leaves DJ's hands a little tied. Like, you can only bench a guy like that for so many games before this situation becomes a story and becomes something that the GM is going to have to deal with, and by extension the coach. It's like, he can bench a prospect like Branstrom, or he can bench a guy like Mete, who's on like 1.2 million, 1 year deal. Excuse me. But you can't just leave Zaitsev in the press box indefinitely. It isn't done. Other teams don't do that, and if they do, then that it's understood that player's time with the team is over. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be the case with Zaitsev, but I'm saying that probably isn't DJ's decision to make. And so, yeah, just making that point.
Now, if we look at Zaitsev's contract, I go to this, I think, too often. I don't know if last episode I talked about Colin White's buyout cost, but anyway, if we look at Zaitsev's for this summer, it would be a cap hit over the next 4 years. For the first 2 years, it would be 2.8, and for the last 2 years, it would be 833,000. So it would be an initial bigger cap hit, and then it would drop by 2 million in years 3 and 4. Now, I'm not saying the Sens necessarily need to buy him out. They have a lot of picks in this draft. They could talk to Arizona, because Arizona loves taking those bad contracts. They could see if they could flip him to Arizona, maybe. I'm not sure. But I think
retain salary.
Yeah, like something like that.
If that's like comparable or possibly cheaper than a buyout.
Yeah. Now, and Zaitsev's also owed $2 million in signing bonuses this summer and the following summer. And I mean,
he's going to be gone before he's paid those.
Yeah. So honestly, I really think the Sens just need to find a way to get him off the roster for next year. I get it. When they traded for him, he was a DJ Smith guy. They got Connor Brown as part of that package, which has turned out great, even though he hasn't had a great start to this season. It's been a great trade overall. And so I think you just kind of need to find a way at this point to shed Zaitsev, because look at how well Shabbat's playing with Zub as his partner. Like, I know Zub had a rough game against Chicago, but Shabbat has been phenomenal after being paired with Zub. Like, they just look world class. And I think analytically, they're one of the top 5, or maybe it was top 6 defensive pairings in the league. Like, that is insane.
The Shabbat Zub pairing is an absolute delight. And I mean, Shabbat in particular, Zub is very solid and really helps complement Shabbat nicely. But man, Shabbat this season has looked a totally different player, and he's looking exactly as good as we all knew that he could be. And he was a little rough last season, and I've heard rumors that he might have been nursing an injury for a lot of last year. I've also heard, well, I mean, like, I could also say anecdotally that he was paired for Zaitsev all of last year. And well, when you take the average of that pairing, it's like where Shabbat is and where Zaitsev, it's like they might have averaged out to something okay. When you have someone who isn't a complete liability like Zub, all of a sudden you see how good Shabbat actually is. And that's been a really positive thing to see. But yeah, I absolutely agree. Something has to be done about Zaitsev. He's clearly just not cutting it anymore. He's 30 years old. He's making $4.5 million for 3 more seasons, including this, 2 more after the end of this one. And there's other players that need to be playing. It's just, that's it.
And at what point will it change? Because And I do realize your point about, Smith, maybe Zaitsev not being a Smith guy, but at the same time, he has an A on his jersey. He coached him in Toronto. Like, there are definitely factors there that play into it, but he also called him an elite defenseman.
Yep, he said hard to play against. Guys hate playing against him.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
He loves Nikita Zaitsev. And that's, ultimately, it's on Dorion for taking on that stupid goddamn contract. And sure, it got us Connor Brown. But how long would it have taken to actually just get Connor Brown in free agency? Because the team we got him from is in cap hell basically every goddamn second.
I think it's hard to say that, though, because he was an RFA. Toronto could have flipped him anywhere. And it was obviously for cap dump. Like, Ottawa gave them McCulloch, Greening.
Oh no, I realize that. It's it's brutal that they decided that this was the time. Like, this was the contract to take on. Like, it's so frustrating that we kind of just have to deal with Zaitsev. Last year, he looked pretty decent at the start of the season, then fell off a cliff. He always analytically looked bad, but, sometimes the eye test is a little better.
Sorry, I need to correct myself. McCulloch, Greening, that was for
Phaneuf.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Sorry,
and Cowan was in that too.
Okay, and CC, and who else was for Zaitsev and Connor Brown?
Honestly, I don't.
I have no idea.
I feel like Aaron Lachuk was in that deal. Hold on
he was in like every deal between the Marlies and Sens. So anyway, I got that wrong, though, but in general, there's been a lot of salary swapping with Ottawa and Toronto.
Yeah. All this to say, though, it was a stupid trade that was made. Getting rid of CC was important to the Sens because they didn't want to have to let an asset walk. But at the same time, there is net positive for your salary, for your team, by just letting somebody walk away. And that's what's unfortunate here. I don't know if you can be considered a contending team, even like a contending for the playoff team with our defense. Because after the first period of last game in Chicago, Shabbat and Zub above 70% Corsi. That's excellent. Everybody else, 34 and 35%. That's atrocious. If you maybe consider putting Mete and Holden together, they're probably sitting at like 50%, to be honest with you.
I'd say they would be good for about bang average.
Yeah, but when you put Josh Brown, who, I'm sorry, like I know I crap on the guy so much, and people are like, oh, you can't target Josh Brown. It's like, all right, I'm a fan. I pay money. I can have a goddamn opinion. Josh Brown, just watching his game, I've coached hockey before. I've seen that his hockey sense isn't there. He makes plays in the defensive zone that are just like throwing the rule book, like the textbook that you play defense for, out the window. He does things that don't make sense, and it bites him in the ass. Nikita Zaitsev hasn't been doing anything right for since his first season with Toronto. And ultimately we were all worried. At least I was, when we were going to sign Zub to another contract, because I was like, KHL defenseman, has one good season. But at the same time, I didn't watch Zaitsev. He just put up points in Toronto. He wasn't very good. Zub was just locked down solid defensively. Neither of them should be in an NHL lineup. I think they struggle to even like be on a PTO for good teams. But here they are consistently being put into this lineup. And this isn't all on DJ Smith. Pierre Dorion said he was going to go get a a top 4 right-handed defenseman. And what does he do? He goes and gets Nick Holden, who is a solid as hell bottom 4 defenseman. And then on top of that, he gets I got screenshotted and outed by Lisa Ann, the DM queen, Michael Del Zotto. Like,
oh,
yeah. Everybody knows that. And I'm telling you, man, like, why are you going to get a guy who's been mediocre his entire career, who plays the left side when you don't need that?
And 2 years at $2 million when he was making league min last season.
Like, every time I want to be like, okay, Dorian's making a good move here. Dorian's making a good move there. It's like he does one good thing and then just hucks it back somewhere else because he just needs to have the even of good and shit.
Yeah. And like a team can survive with one black hole defenseman. They can't survive with 2 or 3. Like this team made a conference final with Cody Ceci in their lineup, and Ceci was not good, but the rest of the team could play around him because he was just one guy. It's like we've got Zaitsev, Brown, and to a lesser extent, Del Zotto and Mete. We've got 3 or 4 black holes defensively.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And it means on any given night, half to 2/3 of our defensive core is just complete scrubs. Complete scrubs. And, it's a millstone around the neck of this team with so much young, promising talent, not even promising anymore. Like Shabbat is playing now like an elite defenseman.
Yeah.
Batherson is starting to look like a legitimate top 6 forward threat every night. Stutzler is starting
to top 3. Like he's a top line winger.
Yeah. Like Stutzler is starting to make magic happen every night, not just every other night. And he hasn't even scored a goal yet. But this team cannot move forward with the defense that it has. It cannot. It cannot.
And if you're going to say and tell me that Eric Branstrom was the centerpiece of that Mark Stone deal, and he can't even get into this goddamn lineup because of the coach, what else? Like, I can't. How many times are we going to have this fucking conversation? This is probably the 4th podcast I've had to say this. Like, he's not going to get into this lineup if you have DJ Smith putting tall boys over, short and effective. Like, listen, I love a good tall boy as much as the next guy. I'm having a Keith's right now, 473 milliliters. It's lovely.
We're not being paid for this, by the way.
I'll tell you right now, if I had just one of them short and stubby ones that was going to get me drunk twice as fast, you bet your ass I'm having that one. Right, Bennett? Back me up here.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I like a lot. I would say I like most of DJ Smith's coaching profile.
Yeah.
I think he has guys playing the right way, but he has the guys who are able to play, who have talent, can play the right way, and he can coach them to be better and to play smarter defensively and to work hard and get in the boards and stuff. It's like he's great for that. And he has his team playing with, heart and cohesion a lot of the time. But he has this one blind spot that's just killing us. And it's like he can't comprehend defensemen that aren't like 6'2".
Yeah.
Like he can't do it. Like he is looking at these guys and saying, yeah, that's what an NHL defenseman looks like, in the absence of any evidence, flying in the face of any, statistical analysis or even just the friggin' eye test. I could tell you, like, these guys are not good enough to be playing for us. Like, we're not a good team in general, at where we are right now. And they're not good enough for us. I mean, they wouldn't make it into any other team in this league, basically.
One thing that I thought would just be a fun little idea to come up with, if the Senators were to try and flip Zaitsev out, and look for a right-handed veteran defenseman who can maybe still play. I won't completely gas up this player because I don't think that they're. I think they're a little past their prime now. But would you look to a team like the Arizona Coyotes and look at a guy who's right-handed defenseman and Anton Strawman? He's got this year left at $5.5 million. His signing bonus has already been paid, so his cap hits 5.5. He's not being paid that. He only has a couple points in 9 games. He's not doing so well overall.
I don't need points.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying though, like, is that a kind of guy that you look, and if you're the Sens and you're just like, man, if I can get Zaitsev out of this team for like, let's say Zaitsev in a 3rd round or whatever, take on Anton Strawman and I don't know, maybe like Jay Beagle or somebody who has a bad contract. I'm pretty sure Arizona has.
I'll tell you what we got to do to get rid of, or what we should do if we want to get rid of Zaitsev.
Hit me with it, baby.
What we shouldn't do is bring in another Zaitsev.
Yep.
And I mean in the sense of like, how many times in the last few seasons have the Sens gone out of their way to acquire defensemen with heavy contracts, either a high cap hit or term, or a high cap hit and term, guys who are not good enough, who were not good enough where they were and are not good enough to help the team that we have here. And then they just become the new guy. Like literally, we traded CC for Zaitsev. Like we got rid of our black hole defenseman, like the Sens Twitter whipping boy, and then we got the new Cody CC, which was Zaitsev. And then we're going to trade Zaitsev, and we're going to get the new Zaitsev. What I want is, I don't want to trade Zaitsev. I want Zaitsev to disappear. If we have to buy him out to make that happen, let it happen. Because what I want his roster spot to not fucking exist anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I want that player, I want that to just be like a blank space that DJ fucking has to put an AHLer into. Yeah. I want his hand to be forced. I don't want him to have a new toy. I want the toy to get fired into the fucking sun so that he has to play somebody else. Like, that's
my only point was that Strawman doesn't have term. I don't care if it's Strawman or someone else.
And
he has
that's
year.
Fine.
That's it.
And that's what, but if we get Strawman, he's gonna fucking play. And it's like, we don't want that either. Like, we want that spot to like
Hey, like, I'm with you.
When you delete a cell in Excel and everything shifts up and that cell doesn't exist anymore and everything goes below that moves up. That's what we want.
Hey, honestly, I'd rather see like JBD Thompson. If that was possible, I would rather see that. But
I think what's beautiful is that you eliminate Josh Brown and hopefully Zaitsev. That's 2 right-handed roster spots that suddenly open up.
Yep.
So that's that, like, Bennett, you're bang on the money. You have to, like, this is how Dorion would force his hand. You waive somebody and it's probably going to be Josh Brown. Like, that right side is atrocious and it's not doing anything. I love the fire, Bennett. I love it because it makes sense. You're speaking to the point that if you have this roster spot that Nikita Zaitsev is permanently taking up because of his contract, and you just say, nah, and get rid of it, that's suddenly a shift up, as you say. It makes sense to just sort of get rid of it. And at what point are you going to be a contender if you have dead weight like that? And like, don't tell me anybody has freaking forgotten that we are no longer a rebuilding team. We're not in a rebuild anymore. Okay, prove it. Yeah. Get rid of the dead weight. Because if you have it there with Josh Brown and Nikita Zaitsev, and honestly, I mean, like Victor Mete, at what point do we need to see more from him? Will we see more from him when he's playing with better players or what? But like, I'd be okay if Branstrom took out Mete, if we got to see Lassie Thompson at some point. Do something.
I think these decisions will come after the 25, 30, maybe even later than that. But I think it'll come once the Sens realize, like at this rate, I know the Sens are only 3-5 right now, but if things keep trending the way they are, like that defensive core is not good. It's not. So if things keep trending this way and they are out of the running by, quite a few points, I think you kind of just have to accept, okay, like we're going to get another high pick and they're going to have to start giving guys opportunities so they know what they have for next year. You can't just let Zaitsev take up a spot. You can't let Josh Brown take up a spot. I like Holden. He had a rough game against Chicago. Hopefully that turns around. But if Holden starts struggling, that's again another guy who, you're going to have to limit his minutes, put him on the bottom pairing and put another young guy in. Like, these are decisions that are going to have to be made as the season starts to unravel, if it does unravel, because like you can't just keep rolling in. Like it's like last year with Coburn and Riley and good Branson, and Riley picked up his game, but you can't just have these guys who are going to do nothing for your team, are not going to be there the next season, and you have young guys waiting in the wings. Like, give them a shot. What's there to lose? You're not going for the Stanley Cup. I don't know. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and
for sure.
They're gonna have to make a decision sooner rather than later, because they're still within striking distance of being in a decent position in the Atlantic, but Montreal's 8-2, or 2-8, but 1 win, and they've now tied us in points. So speed something up.
Yep, totally. Well, after that little vent session, let's just take a second here to chill. All right, everybody who's listening, thank you for listening this far. I know we've gotten a little fired up here tonight, and the Minnesota Wild game is starting soon, so we'll wrap this up. But if you haven't already, check out our YouTube channel, the Senstennial Podcast. We upload all our episodes there as well. We also do monthly live streams with guests. So far, we've had NHL draft analyst Will Scouch. We've had the Athletic senior writer Ian Mendez, and we've also had Graham Nichols, who is the author and founder behind Roman a Day. So we get on guests, we bring them onto the YouTube channel for some live streams. You guys can throw questions at us, and it's a ton of fun. Like I said, we've done 3 so far, and we've had a blast doing them. So keep on joining in. Give us a subscription over on YouTube, and we'll try and keep bringing you some fun guests for the community to throw questions their way and just have a good time. Thank you for listening, and we'll do the last topic here, which is the Sens costume party. So the Sens had some solid Halloween costumes, and we're going to vote on which one was our favorite. So Benet, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad we can talk about this because it's really fun. And, as much as we're ragging on a whole lot of our players, not 3 minutes ago, it is nice to take a step back and appreciate it. It's these are guys playing the game they love, having fun. And, a lot of them would be fun people to be around, nice guys to hang out with at a party or something. And, whatever you say about their play on the ice, you want to, there's still people and you can still have fun with, they can still have fun and you can still have fun, following
critiquing
them.
Their Halloween costumes.
Yeah, exactly. And so I want to pull out a few really great ones. Nick Holden and his wife, right off the top, this is probably my favorite. They dressed up as a cop at a Tim Hortons drive-through, and so his wife Angela has a little brick facade that is hanging off of her. She's dressed up in a Tim's uniform, holding a mic. She's got a cup of coffee and some Timbits, and then Holden's dressed up as a police officer eating a donut with the shades. It's just perfect. And by God, please do yourself a favor and look this up because it's so funny.
Yeah.
Some other ones to highlight, Thomas Chabot, Nick Paul, and Chris Tierney and their partners dressed up as a marching band. I saw the photo on Reddit. They all look spiffy. I think those are real instruments too, by the looks of it. They even have God, what's that instrument called again?
Oh God! Don't ask me, man.
It's not I'm really digging deep here.
I know they've got the alto sax, they've got the flute, the trumpet, the clarinet, trombone, and the bassoon. Is that what's called? No, that's not what it's called.
Is that a baritone? I think it's a baritone.
It looks like a baritone. Yeah.
The bassoon is something else, but I went with the only musical instrument that came to mind.
Yeah, one's a saxophone, one's a flute, one's a trumpet, one's a trombone.
Yeah, we got the trombone. I think it's the baritone. The baritone is what's between like the trombone and the tuba. And that's what Tierney has here. I really should know this. My wife did play that instrument at one point.
All of our listeners have tuned out at this point, but thanks for
as we really get
we got away here from the costumes and into the instruments here.
Yeah, we've got Brady doing another Will Ferrell costume. That seems to be a theme with him. Does anybody know the movie? I didn't get the reference.
That's the other guys.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
He's a FBI agent or something. Or sorry, no, he's just a straight up cop.
Yeah, no, but he's just got the
female
mug.
body inspector. I was like, oh no, baby, what is you doing, man?
And then you found another good one, a spooky one, Matt.
Yeah, my favorite was probably the Ghostbusters one with Tyler Ennis as the ghost and Michael Del Zotto, Josh Norris, and Drake Batherson as the three Ghostbusters. And I'm just confirming it is the baritone.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
That is what they're playing. I'm also surprised they just have all of these on hand.
You can go to a music rental store and get them.
Yeah, but that's an expensive bit.
Oh yeah, but I mean, they're making millions. Like they care.
I don't know, man. That's an expensive bid as a million.
I'm willing to bet that they either bought them secondhand off Kijiji or something, or if they had siblings or cousins or fucking people who like were in band and they could borrow them for a night.
I'm gonna DM Chris Tierney, be like, hey man, like I've been really looking for a baritone. Would you mind slanging that my way?
Yeah. Hey, what'll it take me to get you to part ways with that baritone?
You love to see it, eh? You love to see it.
I think they must have just raided the local high school.
Yeah, you have to wonder if they did raid the local high school. Well, on that note, everybody, it's been a pretty wonderful episode. Other Matt is doing the outro, which is great. First time for everything. Lovely Benta. Bennett getting spicy was just something I love to see. Regular Matt, his internet being crappy is kind of a first for all of us. But overall, it was a really fun episode. If you guys could follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we're over on Reddit. Matt is apparently dubbed Matt Murray in the Senstennial or in the Sens Discord. So if you want to go hit him up over there. We're all about having fun, engaging with you guys, and just loving the Senators and go Sens going, because apparently the Sens are about to be in session.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Go Sens go. See you guys on the other side.
Go Sens go.
Go Sens go.